Hey guys, it's Momby. We are moving our way up to the roof because I can't decide what I want to do around this door. I don't know if I want to do a little awning or just a frame. I'm just moving on to the roof for now. I had talked originally about having the chimney come up and like through the balcony and up through the roof. And the more I thought about it, the more I didn't want to do that. I don't want to detract from this space. I don't want to lose any floor space on the balcony. So, because this is fantasy, just like my staircase that doesn't really go to anywhere, we're just going to throw a little chimney right up through the center of the roof before I do any shingles. Since we're on the topic of shingles, I'm going to be doing those out of a really thin cardboard. It is corrugated, but it's very, very thin. And I didn't really measure. I just used the width because they're very tiny boxes like this. So that's what I'm rolling with so that I can use this part and the little flap, everything. I just wanted to make the most use out of the box size. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut, I'm marking out strips that are in this width, and then I will go in, I'm going to make strips of shingles. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of mark, I'll show you, I'll mark where the corners are so I can just lay them in strips instead of individual shingles. All I'm doing now is taking a ruler and marking out individual shingles. I'm doing it on the back side. This will be the shingle part, so I'm marking it on the back so it'll cover up my pencil marks. Not that it won't be painted, but that's what I'm doing. Now I'm going to go through and I'm just going to do little tiny cuts to mark the edges of the shingles. Okay, all of these have been cut, so all I'm doing now is flipping not the pencil side, but the other side. And I'm not going to rough them up too bad, but I'm just taking an X-Acto knife, putting a little bit of an indication of some wood grain. And then I'm going to take a needle tool and just kind of score where the gaps between the shingles would be. So not too much, but enough so that when we apply some paint, some of that'll pop out. One down, about a million more to go. Grr, my camera wasn't on. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm taking a row of my shingles and I'm going to lay them on the edge of the roof, and I'm going to start the first one so that there's a bit of an overhang about where these little cuts are. And for me that was about 1.5 inches up from the bottom. Then I took my next row, put them about where I wanted them, and then I marked up where that second row is going to lay. And for me, from my first line up, it was about 3/4 inch. So 3/4 inch above that first one. So you'll see there's that one. We're going to lay the next line on there. And of course, we're going to want to space them the same. So I'm going to put the next lines from here on up 3/4 inch. So every 3/4 inch, I'm going to put a marker line. And then we'll know how to lay these all on top of each other. And I've also taken and drawn out where my chimney is going to sit, because I don't want to put the chimney on top of the shingles. I want to put the shingles around the chimney. So that'll sit like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just keep doing my marker lines every 3/4 of an inch. Now I'm just going to hot glue these on, and I'm going to stagger them as I go, all the way up, and filling in the ends as I go up. After that, we're going to add a coat of 50/50 black paint and Mod Podge to firm everything up, and that'll give us a good solid base to paint on. To clean up my edges, because I used the foam board on the front edging, I'm going to take more strips of that foam that I have cut up, and I'm going to go all the way around the edges, even though it won't look the best on the bottom, but it'll help strengthen it up, because I'm going to cover these in the Mod Podge and the black paint as well. So I'm going to get these all glued on real quick. Okay, I've got my 50/50 black paint plus matte Mod Podge. I'm just going to do a thin layer over the whole roof and the edging. That'll give us a nice base to paint on. Okay, I'm just going to leave this to dry really well, and then we will work on painting. And I noticed that I do have quite a few spots on my foam that have been nicked because I've bumped it up against my shelf, so I will need to go over that eventually too, and kind of clean up some spots. And I plan on going over all of the wood, the exposed wood, with a coat of Mod Podge just to kind of stiffen it up a little bit and help protect it. But that's where we are at. I'm still waiting for the chimney, the joint compound, to dry on there. And then I'll give it a coat of the joint compound and glue mixture. Then we'll put some stones on it and get it painted. And once the roof is painted, it'll live right there. So that's it for now. I'll check back in a bit. Quick little craft while I'm waiting for some other things to dry. I got a bag of these wood slices at a craft store here that was going out of business, so I got them for super cheap. So I figured I would make little side tables or nightstands, or maybe stools, because I still need to make a table eventually. Maybe those will be chairs. I haven't decided, but I'm just going to take some and put them together with some wood glue. And then, because they have the bark still on the outside, I'll probably coat them in some Mod Podge just to help protect and make sure that stays, doesn't chip away with handling. That's it, just a quick one. And there they are. I made a little table and a nightstand, and because I had one that was broken, I cleaned it up and I made a little chair. Come on, he doesn't want to sit up, but there's this little chair. I figure I can put it out on the balcony or in the kitchen or something. When I do a kitchen area, I need to make a dining table yet too, but yep, that's a little quick craft. Okay, the Mod Podge and paint is pretty much dry. As I said, I did a pretty thin coat, so you can see a lot of the cardboard underneath. But that's okay, because now I'm going to cover all of this in my burnt umber brown. Everything, just to give it a base coat. And then we'll go in and we'll do some dry brush and some weathering. Oh, and I got the glue and joint compound mixture on the chimney. When I'm painting these, I'm going to be painting this direction down, so I'm not worried about getting brown paint into all these little areas either. That'll kind of hold some shadow, and I'm cool with that. As I said, I'm just going to go one direction. Not super worried about full coverage. I'm just kind of butting my brush up against the edge there and kind of letting it go over the edge of the shingle. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to go over again with the exact same color, but with a bigger brush. And I'm pretty much just making some streaks. Just because there's a little more black showing through than I would like, but I'm not really worried about getting it all covered up either. And after this, I'm going to make sure it dries really well. And we'll go from there. Next step, I think I'm going to take a little bit of this nutmeg brown. We'll do a little bit of dry brushing in that. Still going with a fairly big brush. Get myself a paper towel. And I'm just going to go from the top down. This will just help look more like some wood grain. Just make sure to go that same direction. Remember, it's going to dry a little darker than how it goes on. So don't panic. You can tell that's already a lot darker than this over here. That's what we want. I'm going to go over the whole roof like this, top to bottom. Next up, I'm going to grab some elephant gray, and we're going to do things a little different this time around. We're still going to do a fairly dry brush, but we're going to start from the bottom, and we're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to catch the bottom edge. of these shingles because we want them to look worn and sun bleached. See, it doesn't take much, especially that light color. Don't need very much. In fact, I have way too much in my container here. You see how that looks there? Just a hint. Next, I'm going to grab some of that linen, which is the color that's on the walls, the main wall color. And I need another cup. Got a bunch of these from the Dollar Tree, and these are great. I just use them to squirt some paint in. Wash them out when I'm done. And when they get ruined and they have to be thrown away, it's not a big deal. Okay. Dry brush again, but this time we are going from the top. Not super heavy. In fact, you can barely even see that it's on there. And I'm going to leave this set aside because I have to go back and do some dry brushing on the wood beams too. And the last step for now, I think, I'm going to grab some English ivy green. And again, I'm going to go up from the bottom, just to give just a tint, just a slight hint of green. A little bit of moldy bits there, but nothing too extreme. And I'm going to go lighter as I go up. Not as much water. Oops. A little too much there. I'll add a little extra down to the bottom, because that's where the water would collect more, is toward the bottom. Don't want to make his roof look like it's about ready to give out on him. I just want to make it look like it's seen some things. And because the chimney's going to go here, I'm going to focus on this area and add a little more green because water would collect around it. And run down the sides there. Okay. Now I'm going to let this dry really well, and then I'm going to give it all, I'm going to go through and do some of the dry brushing that I needed to do on these exposed beams in that linen color. And then I'm going to bust out the matte Mod Podge, and I'm going to give the whole ceiling a coat of matte Mod Podge, and then all of my woodwork down here just to kind of stiffen up that, because remember, this is all just foam board. So we're going to stiffen that up a little bit. And then the very last step on the roof, I'm going to take some chalk pastels and kind of grunge up in some black underneath the edges of the shingles. I will eventually do chalk pastels on the walls of the cottage itself, but I want to make sure I have all my woodwork and stuff done before that. And I don't know if I'm going to add on the woodshed or anything. So yes, this looks a little clean, but in the very end, it will not look like that. So again, dry brushing real quick, and then Mod Podge over all the woodwork and the whole roof. Okie doke. It's kind of shiny, but I've got a spray sealant that I can put on top if I want to tone down the shine, and it does look a lot shinier under this light than it does in person on camera. So we're going to go in with a little bit of some pastel, just some black under the edges. You can see what a difference that makes. Really helps define the rows here. Put some shadow in there. Put a little bit along this ledge where it would collect some grime. I'm just going to do this for every row all the way down. Okay, I decided to shut the lights off, and this is what it looks like in natural light. Looks kind of grungy, not so shiny. You can see how those pastels, just that little bit of black under the edges there, really made those pop. That's what I was after. I think I'm going to, the chimney should be dry enough now that I can start putting some egg carton stones on there. I've got some ripped up and ready to go. Then I will throw some pastels and whatever paint I'm using on the chimney, get it attached. And then I think I'm going to call this video good. And in the future, I plan on finishing up the woodwork. I've got a couple things to do on the exterior. I don't know if I'm going to do an overhang or if I'm just going to frame this door. I haven't quite decided yet. But when I get everything done on the exterior, I plan on hauling the whole thing outdoors and then giving everything a good spray with my my matte spray sealant. So that'll tone down anywhere that the Mod Podge kind of gave it a little bit of a shine that I don't want. It's not too bad, but I really don't want the exterior, which is supposed to be worn and sun bleached. I don't want any shine on that. So next order of business, chimney, and I will get that attached. And when that's done, then we'll call this video quits. here we go. We have chimney. I've got the overhead light turned off. Just got a couple ring lights and some daylight so you can see. I did because I had given this a coat of hairspray, because I could do that indoors and it doesn't reek as bad as my sealant. I did do a quick coat on here. But as I said, in natural light, it's not near as shiny. I just wanted something so that in case I bump up against these, that I don't end up with a lot of pastel on my fingers. And in the end, I'll give it a proper coat of sealant, but the hairspray will work for now. But yes, there we go. We have chimney. The roof is done. Well, almost done. I have some moss. In the end, when I do the rest of the exterior, I plan on putting some moss in a couple spots. I want to do like a little bird's nest up here on the balcony. Next task will be to figure out whether I want to put a little roof over that door or if I just want to frame it. I'm leaning now towards, I don't know. I go back and forth. I haven't quite decided because I have to do a railing around that balcony, obviously. And I'm thinking he might grow some herbs or something up here. So I don't want to detract from floor space. And I don't want to take away any sun. So, not real sure. I may end up just framing it and then doing a little garden up here. Anyway, the focus of this video was supposed to have been the roof. So, there we go. Roof is finished, as is this video. See you next time, guys. Thanks.